humble yourself, Bruce. Bruce, I do have one question for you. Why do you always come in my chat? Like, what are you trying to gain besides giving me views? And yes, I do thank you for giving me views. However, like, why? Like, what? Blech. Blech. No. Go dogs. So, Jeremy Hales versus, we know. Order this matter before the court on defendant's motion for order to comply with subpoena to provide deposition audio. That is just worded really badly. In that motion, defendants asked the court to require the court reporter who transcribed plaintiff's deposition to release her backup audio file. At the court's direction, defendants have filed the transcript of the deposition, document 42. Having considered the motion and the transcript, no response from plaintiff is necessary. Defendant's motion, which is unsupported by the citation to any authority, is not well taken. The court sees no need to require the court reporter to release the backup audio file. The transcript appears to be complete. There is no indication the court reporter was unable to transcribe portions of the deposition, nor is there any indication that the court reporter failed to fulfill her duties of accurately transcribing the deposition. Thus, the court sees no reason to require the court reporter to release her backup audio file, and accordingly, the defendant's motion, document 39, is denied. See United States v. Austin, 6th Circuit, 2020, explaining that, quote, when an audio tape is merely a backup to the court reporter's stenographic record, as here, the audio tape is personal property of the court reporter and there is no public entitlement to the audio tapes, unquote, except in certain criminal proceedings. What the transcript reveals is that the only person who behaved appropriately during the deposition was the court reporter. Let's read that one again. What the transcript reveals is that the only person who behaved appropriately during the deposition was the court reporter. And that was my point. This one right here, this was my point. This sentence. And I understand that when you're upset, you're upset. I do. But that was my point. Because this is the judge. This is one of the people who holds this whole contingent's fate in his hands. And when you piss off the judge, that is not good for your case. The judge is the last freaking person you ever wanted to piss off, is the judge. That was my point that I was trying to explain earlier about things that were asked, but also things that were answered in a smart ass kind of way. I'm not saying that I would be any better. I'm just saying from a 20,000 foot view, and hindsight being 2020, that phrase, that sentence right there is what I was worried about. Yeah. And like, I totally understand. And that's not a knock on, like, that is not a knock on Jeremy. Like, that is just a statement of fact from watching trials from before Johnny Depp, from before Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse was in my backyard. I lived less than 40 minutes from Kyle Rittenhouse's situation. So like, that was pretty much my backyard. So like, I followed that trial. That was kind of one of my first that I followed completely. But since then, I have followed court cases. So that's why I said that. It's not because I don't like Jeremy. It's not because I like anybody or hate anybody. It's because I fucking have an outside view, and I wasn't letting my emotion judge how I felt about a situation. Yeah. Like, I'll even, like, not to get political, but I know this will piss off Bruce because he has TDS. Trump. I like Trump. Great. I think he's good at the job. But sometimes during his last, presidential run or like his last term, sometimes I was just like, you don't know when to shut the fuck up. You just don't know when to shut up. That's kind of, it's not that I don't like you as a person, but sometimes you just need to know when to stop. Stop. So, there you go. Trump all the way. Do you think this judge will move the case up with all the nonsense going on by Bruce? Honestly, I don't think so. Because not only did he make this timeline, but he makes his other, so now that he put this in his calendar, he started to put other things, like, yes, I understand where you're coming from. Just, this is what I was worried about, because the judge is ultimately the one who decides what comes in and what doesn't. And it's one of those, thank you. You understand what I'm saying. It's just, there is a level of decorum that you want to give attitude with, but sometimes there's just, it's like talking to the cops. The cop could be your friend. They could be the nicest person in the world, and you could feel comfortable talking to them, but you still don't do it. You answer yes, no, I don't know, talk to my lawyer. Like, you just, no matter how much you want to have an attitude or you want to talk to them, you don't, because anything that you can say will be used against you. A deposition is no different. Anything you say in a deposition can be used for you or against you. So sometimes you just need to, The whole thing was inappropriate behavior on all parties. The court stenographer did their job professionally as she should. I get that JH was very upset, agitated, should have been more professional. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I totally, I get, yeah. Yeah, Teresa, I'm getting to that. This is the motion that was just filed. The behavior of counsel for both parties as well as that of the plaintiff was improper. Because of the improper behavior that permeated the deposition and eventually led to its termination, the court believes that a partial redeposition of plaintiff is necessary. Given the contentious nature of this litigation and the improper behavior that plagued the initial deposition, the partial redeposition will personally be supervised by the court. See generally Ludwin v. Proman. I'm assuming that's South Dakota, or wait, 2nd District, Florida, October 13th, 21. Sorry. Holding that because of deposition misconduct, the defendant was required to sit for a new deposition that would require at the federal courthouse under judicial supervision. That partial redeposition will occur at U.S. District Court 1 North, and this is the federal courthouse, so I'm sure the address is fine. And it will last up to 3 hours. There's a footnote, and remember, people, we always read footnotes because they're important. Plaintiff's counsel, defendant's counsel, and plaintiff will be required to appear in person. Did you hear that, Bruce? Did you hear that, Bruce? You have to go to Florida. No Zoom. Defendant's counsel will be responsible for obtaining the services of court reporter to transcribe the deposition. Footnote 2. Because both parties share some of the blame for the need to conduct the partial redeposition, the cost of the court reporter shall be shared equally between plaintiff and defendants. That was another problem. The scheduling of the partial redeposition will occur by separate notice following the consultation with counsel. Y'all have to talk to the judge. Both of y'all have to talk to the judge. But the partial redeposition must occur no later than December 23rd, 2024. You better be buying plane tickets. The court would also note several things that will hopefully help the partial redeposition go more smoothly. First, the plaintiff is not permitted to refuse to answer any questions except for those that inquire as to attorney-client privilege or another type of recognized evidentiary privilege. So footnote 1, 2 hours for direct examination, 45 minutes for any cross-examination, and 15 minutes for any redirect. The allotted time is exclusive of any breaks. If the allotted time proves insufficient for some unforeseen reason, the court reserves the right to extend it. Footnote 2, the room number for the partial redeposition will be provided to the parties upon their arrival at the courthouse. See, this is why we read footnotes, because pretend you didn't read the footnote and you read this, you wouldn't know where to go. Bruce is in Massachusetts. So if that explains any of his Tammy, we're going to agree to disagree on this one because I agree with the judge. I do agree that Bruce set him up trying to get a rise out of him, but the problem is it worked. So, yeah, it was funny and it was true. Rugamama, you're perfect. JH went too far at times. It was funny and true, but a lot of what JH said wasn't needed. I'm sure it was set out of frustrations. This is exactly right. I completely understand from everybody who is here, who is a long-time Jeremy Hales subscriber, supporter. I understand the frustration, but this motion right here, I'm not surprised by, because I literally said that when I was reading the deposition, when I was skimming it. I said the judge is not going to like this. This is, sometimes you just need to check your attitude at the door. I understand you might have it. I get it. I understand being frustrated. It happens a lot. But when anything, there's a difference. And that's why I jokingly around, sort of joking, told people there's a difference between what I'd say to someone in a YouTube video, in a chat, or on the street, or in a phone call than I would put in an email. Like, than I would put in an email, or I would say in a deposition. Like, there is, yes, Jeremy let Bruce get under his skin. That, yes. And I totally understand. I get it. I get it. I totally understand what the Hales supporters are saying. I'm just saying, from someone who has watched lots of court cases over the last decade, most of which on YouTube, starting with Kyle Rittenhouse, and who actively watches, when I say I watch court cases, like I watch the entire court case. Every bit of testimony, every bit of anything that's streamed with pretrial motions, pretrial hearings, from someone who has watched trials. Sometimes you need to check your emotions at the door. You don't want to, but you need to. I totally understand being frustrated. Trust me, I had 6 years of working in a hospital, biting my tongue every damn day with everybody. But Shockett could also doing a better job of controlling his client. And I understand that too. I'm going to finish reading this, and then I have to go do mama duties. So, now he has to be, because you can't be a lawyer for someone and a plaintiff or a defendant at the same time. And I really don't know how that's going to work with this redeposition. I really don't. Like, yeah, I understand that the judge, knowing and seeing how contentious this was, should have probably done it, but hindsight's 2020. Questions about plaintiff's business affiliations, contracts, and the names of business associates, customers, etc. are not inquiries into a privileged matter. Thus, there is no basis for plaintiff to refuse to answer such questions. Indeed, plaintiff has asserted claims of tortious interference with business relationships his business relationships, and the impact of defendant's alleged conduct on those business relationships are directly relevant to this litigation and are the proper subject of deposition questions. Second, defendant's counsel needs to focus on asking questions about the claims raised in this litigation instead of attempting to instigate conflict by asking about unrelated matters involving plaintiff and defendants. There's the other half of it. That's what I said. Like, I don't agree with what Bruce did, but Jeremy fell for it hook, line, and sinker. There. The judge addressed both sides. And maybe I think like a judge. I don't know. I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to be. But like, that's kind of how I approach something, like a judge would. An impartial, don't know either side, don't care either side. Let's look at, Jeremy was trying to inflict damage rather than just sucking it up and waiting for the court to handle it. Yeah. And that is true. And I think that this is being addressed by the judge too. You also don't want your lawyer to become a witness. It opens up the opportunity for questions that you told your lawyer in confidence. Yeah. I get that. Way too much time in the plaintiff's deposition was devoted to irrelevant information about people and events that have nothing to do with the claims in the case. Totally agree with that. I like this judge. I really like this judge. Third, a deposition is a formal part of a federal court proceeding that is to be conducted professionally and civilly. See Mittner Court v. Club Condominiums, North District, Florida, 2021. Recognizing that depositions are to be conducted in a professional manner, name-calling, personal attacks, and obstructionist behavior has no place in a deposition or any other proceeding in this case. Experienced lawyers like the ones involved in this case should be able to control themselves and their clients. Footnote 3. But they apparently cannot, which is why the court will supervise the partial redeposition. Everybody in this case is now on notice. If this type of behavior continues, then there will be sanctions. Footnote 4. Those sanctions will not be light. They may include stiff monetary penalties, dismissal of this action, and disciplinary proceedings against the attorneys. See generally Lee v. ESA Portfolio Operating LLC, South District, Florida, March 18th, 2021. Dismissing action as a sanction for unacceptable deposition conduct. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, this is what I was trying to say, and this is what no one, or not no one, but people wanted to argue with me about, because I was critical of Jeremy's behavior. Like I said from the start, I'm coming at this from someone who doesn't care about either side. Like, I don't hate either side, but I don't really care, and I don't really care what you think my opinion is, because my opinion is my own. Like, this is where court decorum, and yes, I understand depositions are not in front of the court generally, but they are still a court-ordered action. So you are still subject to court decorum. Whether you're a lawyer, a plaintiff, a defendant, you are still subject to court decorum in a deposition. And that's all I was trying to say. And look at this. The judge proved me right. So footnote 3, in addition to the issues during plaintiff's deposition, there were apparently issues in a deposition that occurred last Friday. Those issues led counsel to call the court, which was presiding over an all-day hearing during the middle of the deposition. Defendant's counsel has indicated that they intend to seek dismissal under Rule 37 based on plaintiff's conduct in his deposition. See document 39 at 1. The court will save defendant's counsel the time of drafting the motion. Dismissal will not be granted at this time. And then the other was Thomas v. Tenico Packaging Company, or Tenico, 11th Circuit, 2002, affirming disciplinary proceedings against counsel for, among other things, making demeaning remarks about opposing counsel's physical traits and demeanor, and recognizing that a federal court has the power to control admission to its bar and to its discipline attorneys. It is so ordered, 9th day of December, Zachary Bolitho, United States Magistrate Judge. So at this moment, another win. However, it sucks for everybody. It sucks for everybody, and it makes nobody look good. So this was my original point, and I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Like, I hate to be that person, but like, I mean, honestly, like, yeah. Well, he probably, in his defense, he probably saw that there was something posted and went to read it himself, as he should. But I think it's not good for anybody. Bruce lost because no, it's not getting dismissed. Jeremy lost because now the judge called him out on his behavior as well. So it sucks more for Bruce. But and the other thing is, you know what that podcast, you know what they're going to say about this? They're going to spin this to people who won't read it themselves as a win for Bruce, because Jeremy got called out on his behavior. So when they called Jeremy controlling or rude or anything, this kind of partially proves their point. So this is where I was like, I hate to say I don't want to be that person that's like, stop. Yes, they're gonna 100% claim it's a win for them, and I don't think it's a win for anybody. I think the judge basically saying that the only person, oh, I'm done, that we finished it. Like, keep reading. We're done. It's only a 6-page motion. So that was it. Yes, and I agree. Anybody can be, but they think that's Jeremy's whole personality. They think Jeremy is only rude or only controlling or only this. Like, you can't have sides. Like, you can't have a bad day. And that was part of my original point, was that they're going to take anything. It's about making yourself look squeaky clean while making the other side look dirty. And maybe that's where my manipulative side comes in, where it's like you want to make yourself look like the sweet and innocent one while you make the other side look ridiculous. And if Bruce would have done that, tried to bait Jeremy, and Jeremy would have just said yes, no, talk to my lawyer, the judge would see Jeremy as being professional and see Bruce as being the one that was causing problems. Instead, now the judge sees everybody as just a giant shit show. And the judge, now, if I were the judge, like, when someone is causing unnecessary drama, every time you speak to them or you look at them, you remember that in the back of your head that they cause drama. So you're not as, I had an English teacher in high school tell me, when you write a paper, try to focus on the little things, because the little things are what matters. Because if your teacher or your professor or your lawyer or the judge sees little things, he will start searching, or she will start searching for the bigger problems instead of just, skimming over. They will start doing more research, because if you F up the little things, what more could you F up? It's like, yes. While giving the other side the appearance of stupidity and blatancy and lameness, not generally a good tactic to demonize. Yeah. Yes, and they're both lawyers are to blame, but the person answering the questions is also to blame, and the judge proved it. Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm going to be reading it tomorrow with IT Goatee Brad. At noon tomorrow, we're going to do a 2-hour stream where you know, and see, and that's kind of where I am. I agree that Jeremy's been through a lot, and I agree that most of it is bullshit. And I understand being frustrated. But Bruce, and that's maybe where I don't know, like I maybe having an outside perspective from never covering this case before, not talking to Jeremy, I can still stay, and maybe it's just my personality too, of not being trying not to let my emotions get in the way. That's a trait I got from my dad. That is definitely a trait that I got from my dad, because like I learned you think logically first, emotions second, for better or worse. That's the way I look at everything in life. So that's the way I'm looking at this too. Maybe that would make me a good lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a kid, except I hate public speaking. Make that one make sense. For those of you who are new to my channel, my biggest fears in life are public speaking and reading out loud. Make it make sense, because I don't know. Oh yes, Gail, I completely okay, this one. I think BBB was trying to get the case dismissed by antagonizing Jeremy. Yes, and I said that from the very beginning too, when we read over the deposition, that he was baiting him. And don't hate me too much, but I didn't listen to it myself, but I heard a rumor that the other podcast said that Jeremy took the bait. So I agree with them. I call balls and strikes like I see it. Like, it is what it is. Like, yeah, I call it like I see it. Like, I'll call bullshit behavior out no matter if it's my best friend or it's my worst enemy. Like, but I will also give credit where credit is due. And even though the judge is pissed at Bruce too, he accomplished his goal, making Jeremy look like shit to the judge. Congratulations, Bruce. You succeeded in that. Like, yeah, this was my fear when I started reading that deposition. This. Oh, and I completely understand that. But that's where shock it should have been objection, asked and answered. Move on. And if Bruce kept asking the same question, I would have said, asked and answered over and over again until he moved on. I would have just repeated myself. Same thing. Asked and answered. Yeah. But because Jeremy took the bait, his credibility went down. And that was the fear I had. And I agree with everything this judge said. There is nothing in this. There's nothing in, like, usually I even critique what the judge says, how the judge writes, like what the judge says, which court cases he uses. Because I like to also look at these, and I'm having a moment, the case law. So I don't disagree with anything the judge said. Flash fan, I think I have a new favorite judge, and I don't even know who this dude is. So I am going to look up, and we kind of got off topic a little bit on the Bruce ethics thing. But a lot of the I was researching this video, and then when the deposition transcript came out, a lot of the deposition transcript is a lot of the deposition transcript proves the points I just made about professional conduct. Yeah, that everybody lost. So I will put it, I will put it in the Discord. Let me actually do that now. Ooh. So I am going to, what did I, oh, I automatically downloaded it to the right thing. There's my, come on. Let me download it again. Oh, it downloaded to the wrong place. That's why. I couldn't find it for a second, and I was like, wait, that's because I actually put it in the wrong place. So we're just going to do it again to make it quick. Today's the 9th, 12/9/24. Judge's ruling. Redeposition. I'm trying to name it so when you guys look at the name, you won't have to open it up to know what it is. We read the, we started going through the ethics rules of professional conduct for Florida and Massachusetts to see if Bruce's conduct is unethical or just a jerk. And then this motion or this judgment dropped on Pacer. So this motion dropped on Pacer. So it's fun. We are and I think, did motions drop in the other cases too, or just this one? Let's go to, and I need to go do mama duties, because my dining room is a little smelly. So there we go. It is in the Discord for anybody that needs it. I am trying, like, for better or for worse, I'm staying objective. Like, people get mad at me, and I've seen people get mad at me, even in my other videos, even my first one, that got like 60 comments, half of which were people saying that I'm like loving Lynette, and I'm like, you know, I don't know everything that Lynette did, and like I'm doing this or I'm doing that. And then I had the other half where Lynette people who hate Jeremy going, you're a Jeremy this, you're a Jeremy this, you're like, I'm like, I literally don't, and I always used to joke around that I was in a case where, Reddit has Am I the A-hole? I was in the everybody sucks here kind of mentality. So I just call it like I see it. And I look at it this way: if I'm pissing off both sides, I must be doing something right as far as my objective. Like, what the fuck? I didn't, before I got dragged into it, it was like, I'm just staying out of it. Like, I'm not talking about it. I will mod for Megan, and, I will watch things on it, but I'm not going to like deep dive into it, or I'm not going to read motions or like put my opinions out there, because it was like, I don't agree with certain things on both sides. Overall, I lean towards Jeremy Hales, because like, this is just some of the stuff that's being said and going on is just straight up bullshit. But like, in general, this is not my monkey, not my circus. So like, it's easier for me to stay neutral, because I just don't, I didn't know who Jeremy Hales was until he was on Megan's channel. So like, speaking of, so this judge, he has preferences. So this is the fine.uscourts.gov. This judge does not look like I thought he would. I'll show you a picture of him in a minute. Preferences. Unless otherwise stated in a notice setting a hearing, telephonic or remote appearances are allowed with only prior approval from Judge Bolitho. Unless otherwise ordered or requested, proposed orders are not required. Unrepresented party. And I rarely have looked at these federal judges, and I didn't realize they had Jen, he probably went to check. He actually probably went to read that order because, you know. So, unrepresented parties and counsel seeking to utilize any courtroom technology for purposes of a hearing or trial should contact the courtroom deputy and test the equipment. Look at this. He wants people to test the equipment prior to the scheduled hearing or trial. I think all freaking judges should do this. So all proceedings before Judge Bolitho are recorded by the court's audio recording system. Additionally, a court reporter will be provided for bond hearings and change of plea hearings when a court reporter is available. For all other hearings, including civil hearings, parties wishing to have the presence of a court reporter must retain one. That is good to know, because if you don't obtain a court reporter, there won't be any even transcripts of what goes on. And we want Yeedy McYeederson. Gotta love your name. Like, I call Deuce rat skin. So, Patrick, I don't mean to laugh at Bruce for this, but I am going to. This was probably the absolute worst time of year to have to pay for a plane ticket. Right before Christmas, plane tickets are not cheap. Plane tickets are not cheap. So, if you see Bruce doing some risking it for the biscuit, like, Bruce, you might want to start an OnlyFans. Actually, never mind. Or an Only Noses. So he has his whole list of preferences on what he likes in his courtroom. But I am going to show you a picture of Judge Bolitho. He didn't look like what I thought he would look like. I wouldn't mind trying a case in front of that judge. Yes, he can, but he better not come through Georgia. You better find a way to not come through Georgia. Yeah. That's what I thought. Well, he already made a comment about it. What did I do? I mean, this is one good-looking judge. I'm just saying. Like, come on. Full head of hair. Florida tan. You know. Just saying. Fit. Yep. Well, I've said only feet before. Like, so only noses would be I don't want to see, like, I don't think that Bruce could make money off of his feet, but that nose. Well, I mean, the pinstripe suit kind of does help the situation. I'm just saying. Hot in here, is it just me? Problem is, Jeremy sees Deuce as an adversary with him doing the anti-Hales thing instead of treating it as just, and I completely agree with you, which is part of the reason that he got added as a defendant and not just an opposing attorney, because now he is an adversary, because he's always been one. He's always acted like one, and now he legally is one. But when he wasn't added to the lawsuit yet, you gotta check your emotions at the door. Like, it's like when you talk to your friends and you're like, I hate this, this person's calling me, I hate them, they're awful, they're this, they're that, and you answer the phone and you're like, hey, how you doing, how's your day going? And you're like professional and appropriate, and like, you turn on a switch. That's what needs to happen. Like, I'm guilty. Like, I'm guilty. Like, menopause. Like, yeah. Were you here when it said, or when I read the beginning of the motion? Because it's literally in the motion. It's literally what the transcript reveals is the only person who behaved appropriately during the deposition was the court reporter. The behavior of counsel for both parties, as well as the plaintiff, was improper. That is not something that you want in a judge's motion, especially a federal judge. We're married, we're not dead, we're just reading the menu. Like, I can window shop. Speaking of that, for those of you who weren't here, like, when I first started this, so last night, in my live last night, somebody came in. I have the person's name up, Tam. They said you should probably wear makeup. It was Sunday night after having an extremely lazy day. You're lucky I brushed my hair and my teeth yesterday, which was how lazy we all were, which is why I've done extra work today, because it was super freaking lazy. I was super lazy yesterday. Like, yeah. Well, when the court reporter literally is like, stop, and no one is stopping on both sides, you got a problem. I can only imagine what Alyssa is thinking. I can read though. Oh, and that was a troll. But on that note, I text Mr. Squid this morning, and I was like, because he was asleep when I did the live, and he was gone before I woke up this morning. I mean, he leaves for work at 3:00. Like, I'm not waking up that early if I don't have to. And I texted him and I was like, oh, by the way, somebody on my live last night said I need to wear makeup because I don't look good without makeup. And I literally got an eye roll emoji back, which means the same thing that I thought. And I was like, I asked him, I was like, what do you think of that? And I got an eye roll emoji, which is pretty much the same thing that I have, the mentality that I have. Like, why do I care about what some anonymous person that on the internet says as far as like about my looks? Like, I ain't dressing for you. Like, I'm not trying to impress you. Before that person even said anything, I didn't know they freaking existed, and I still don't care. And Mr. Squid is the same way. That's pretty much where I get it from, because that's where I get the he is where I learned how to piss people off for fun, because he does it every day. That's his favorite hobby, is to just make people angry because they annoyed him 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday at 1:00 in the afternoon. And yeah. And I appreciate you. And thank you for that. It literally was like, okay, like, okay. Yes, Mr. Squid is yeah. Mr. Squid is a giant troll, especially about football. Yeah. I'm not gay, so I can't answer that. Sweetie, I stopped wearing makeup years ago. If people would learn what's in that makeup, they're stop putting it on their faces. I use organic makeup. I use a company called OG or OG. Yeah, I use organic makeup. I made that switch. It was a little intense, cost wise, but like my skin just feels so much better. It's hot. You know, I don't see it, but I'm not gonna say no to people who think that because you know beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Today I have makeup on because I actually went out in public today. You know, I had to people today. We made a stop at the bank. Baby Squid made all the girls at the bank like, you know, swoon. She's like their favorite person. Every time we have to go in there, they're like, she's here. Or they see me and they're like looking around for her. So, hey Cheryl, 12 minutes late. So we have been going at it for almost 2 hours. I think we've pretty much proved our point. And part of the reason that I don't have Bruce blocked is because the more he talks, the more unprofessional behavior he exudes.